Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Susan Patrick with Stambaugh Ness, and welcome to our June simmering hot Deltek Vision Vantagepoint virtual user group meeting. Boy, that is a mouthful. And I actually got it out without stumbling on my tongue. So first things first, as we kind of move along, we always kind of start with the housekeeping related items, and I have no idea why my slide deck is not progressing. So let's just see what the deal is here. I might have to switch over to somebody else because I can't get my slide share.
Pittsburgh internet.
It must be something like that. Or that I have no air conditioning in my office and it is wicked hot in here. So let's see. There we go. Look at that. I got it to work. I am not so technically challenged as you think. So first things first, we have over 400 people signed up for today. So as always, everyone is muted upon coming into the meeting. For those of you that like to get the handout, remember that the handout is available under the little handouts area within your GoToWebinar screen. Next few items here, if you want to get rid of that pesky little bar, you can use the arrow to kind of push it over to the side to get it out of your way. You can also make it bigger by using full screen if it's not taking up your full screen. As I always say, you can raise your hand, but we won't pay attention because people like to mess with me and raise their hand when they don't even have a question. We also monitor the questions panel during the event today. So if you have any questions, do not put that in the chat. Make sure you put that in the questions panel, and we will do our best to get your question answered during the event today. I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot of questions today. So if we do not get your question answered by the time that we're done with the event today, someone will email you back or get back to you separately on that so that we're not keeping everybody on the line for another 10, 15 minutes after the webinar is complete. So again, you have myself, you have Melissa, and you have Stacy, the fantastic trio, as well as Kaylee kind of keeping us all in line. We're going to start with news and updates, and then we're going to jump into our two topics for today. Opportunities, somebody took off Proportunities. Opportunities and Projects Part 2, continuation of last month based on popular question and demand, and then very, very cool Vantagepoint Dashboards. So a couple of the meetings that we have coming up, our next virtual user group meeting is July 17th. Again, we'll most likely be covering more of the preparing for Vantagepoint topics. Our Pittsburgh meeting, our face-to-face meeting in Pittsburgh is actually tomorrow. So those of you that are in the Pittsburgh area, I'd love to see you. And then our next Central PA meeting, which was actually last week, our next one is on September 10th. We would love to see you at Deltek Insight. So if you're not registered yet, please make sure that you get registered. That is in November in Orlando. And just a couple notes here. We will be there. Our entire team will be there. The session catalog is out. The link that I have below here takes you to that session catalog. Our team has over 10 sessions, so make sure you come and check us out. A couple other things that are going on. This is a local event, and some of the things that we do are very specific to an area across the country. We don't always have webinars where everyone can join. Very often we have face-to-face type events or trade shows and things that we're attending. So the SCAEC is actually a Central PA event that we hold for the people that are in that area. Keep in mind that if you are in the Central PA area and you want to attend this event, space is limited. So if you are in the area and are interested, please register early. The next thing that we do have coming up also where we are a sponsor and we have some team members attending is the AEC Recruit Max 2019 in Seattle, Washington. So again, something else for you to check out. And again, there is a link on our website for that event. And then coming up in September is the AEC Profitability Summit, which we are also a sponsor of. So we'll keep reminding you of that for those of you that are in the DC area or that would travel to the area for this particular event. The other thing is just a reminder, I think last month or a few weeks ago, we sent out an email and a blog, maybe even a video pertaining to the end of life for Windows 7 and Server 2008 R2. My marketing team asked me to include this because it is so important. Some people are just kind of ignoring the fact that this is happening. So I really encourage you to kind of look at this, see if it affects your firm, and figure out what your plans are for the end of life of these items come January. And last but not least, Vantagepoint 2.0 is here. What you need to know, first and foremost, is to continue to participate in these events that we're doing to kind of help educate everybody and get you some tips and tricks and preparing for type readiness items. But before you do anything, please make sure you review the Vantagepoint Readiness Portal that Deltek has created. There's a lot of very, very important, valuable information up there. They moved it from a separate portal into DLZ. If you do not have access to that, you can contact Deltek University at deltek.com. You do not, and I repeat, you do not need to be a paid DLZ customer in order to get access to the readiness portal that's in DLZ. You just need to get your login information from Deltek. A couple other things. So by popular demand, we have been getting a lot of requests for copies of the recordings of these webinars that we're doing for Vantagepoint. And so instead of my poor marketing team getting inundated with having to send out links and such the recordings, we decided to create a place in our past events on our website and making these available. And that will include this one. So for those of you that say, hey, can I get a copy of this? You don't need to put that in the questions panel, because as soon as this is completed and it's wrapped up, our marketing team will get it on our website under the past events area. All of these user groups that we've done for 2019 are up there, and they will all have the same look. So you'll see they're kind of cut off here, but it will say Preparing for Vantagepoint, Deltek Vantagepoint, and you will see in the image the topics that were covered on that particular meeting. So thank you all for requesting it. Thank you to our team for being able to make this available so that you can easily access it or point your colleagues to it as well. So before we get into Stacy's component about merging of opportunities and projects together, part 2, we have 2 polling questions. So Kaylee, can you pull up the first one, please? And for some reason, I'm not seeing it today. But the first polling question is asking about closing out opportunities. Are you closing them out to inactive once the stage has changed? So as I see the questions coming in, there's actually about a third of you that don't use opportunities. 15% or so are not sure, 11 say no, and 50% or so say yes. So there's your answers pertaining to that, Stacy. So that gives you kind of the baseline. And then the next polling question pertaining to opportunities and projects. Are you linking your opportunities? I can read them now. I've learned how to read in that few minutes. Are you linking your opportunities to your regular projects? The heat's getting to me. It's finally warm out. Go figure. All right. Well, as we look at the polling coming in, 56% of you are saying yes, and 23% don't use ops. So it looks like the majority of you that have opportunities do link those two things together. So that is great to know. And without further ado, I will go ahead and put myself on mute and turn things over to Stacy. Stacy, welcome once again.
All right, so let me go ahead and, I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And like Susan had mentioned, we're going to do a continuation of last month's session where we covered the merging of opportunities and projects in Vantagepoint. We had dozens of questions and we didn't get a chance to respond to all of those. So what we're going to focus on today is responding to all of those questions that we didn't get to last month. And I'm just going to go through. And as you can see here, I've got the questions noted at the top and then our responses. We'll just start going through the PowerPoint here. One that we got several times, one question was, will the existing stages move over from the Opportunity Info Center? And the answer is yes. They'll no longer be called opportunity stages, but what you can see over on the right here are the project stage settings. So all of your previous code tables from Vision will now be in lists and settings in Vantagepoint. So you can see the same values came over, and within Vantagepoint, you also have that stage step. So you can see here, the ones that are awarded are obviously a 1, and then you have a lost, do not pursue, and in pursuit stage steps. One thing worth noting as you're getting ready to upgrade, if you had a opportunity stage currently that might be not awarded for a lost value, you'll want to change that so that the description of that stage is lost. Otherwise, what will happen on the upgrade is anytime awarded is in the text, the stage step will be 1. So that's just another little tidbit I wanted to point out. Just make sure, you only have awarded within those values that should indicate that that opportunity or that pursuit project was a win. All right, so you don't have to worry about that. Those will come over in Vantagepoint. The next question here was, what about opportunities not awarded or opportunities that we've pursued but the client canceled or we no-go'd? How will they be brought into Vantagepoint? And it really depends. There's a lot of variables to answer this question. In the example that I've provided here within my vision screenshots, I have an opportunity stage that indicates a no-go, like we saw on the previous slide. So what will happen with these opportunities is they will still be brought into Vantagepoint as a unique project. It'll be, as you can see here, the stage will say no-go, so it'll be a closed in pursuit project. What you might want to consider if you have opportunity records that are older, that are more, no-go'd or canceled or what have you, if you don't want those coming in on upgrade as unique project records in Vantagepoint, you would want to remove those from the Opportunities Info Center before you upgrade. Otherwise, all that historical data, whether it was a no-go or a cancellation or what have you, those will be brought into the Projects Hub as a unique record. All right, so the next one here, unlinked opportunities and projects in Vision. How do projects link if we never linked the opportunity with the project in the past? And for this answer, I've got a couple different samples here. What I wanted to show you initially was if you have opportunity records, promotional projects, and regular projects that are all associated to that same pursuit or that same project, but you haven't established a link within those regular project or promotional project fields at the opportunity or those corresponding fields in the project records, what will happen is on the upgrade to Vantagepoint, each of those related records will have its own unique project. So you can see here what I've done is I've outlined each of these related projects here and where they originated. So we've got the Vision opportunity is now its own unique project record. It's not associated to that regular project that also existed within Vision. And then you also have the promotional project that's all part of their own unique structure. You don't have the promotional project, in other words, shown within the project structure for that regular project because there haven't been any links established in Vision prior to the upgrade. In order to prevent all those unique records from being created and those duplicated records, what you'll want to make sure you do before you upgrade to Vantagepoint is make sure that you're establishing links between your opportunities and your projects. And again, all you have to do is associate through the lookups those standard fields that are provided from the opportunity for the promotional project and the regular project in order to make sure that you only have that one record. Here again, you can see in this example that this Adelphi Research Lab was associated to a regular project in Vision. So what happens on the conversion is the opportunity number is not shown within the project number here. You can see that the project number carries over based on what was in Vision for the record, and all of that information, all of that data that was gathered in the pursuit stages of that opportunity, anything tracked within, user-defined fields, all of that's going to come over and populate that existing regular project. Those records are going to be combined as part of the upgrade. So you don't have to worry about, having duplicate records once that link is established. All right, so the next one here, it's also about the links. How do projects link if we never link the opportunity with the project in the past? And again, this is just another example of showing within the project structure here how the promotional project is also part of that project structure, and it's combined into that regular project here. So again, I can't stress enough how important it is if you are using opportunities and regular projects, promotional projects, make sure you're associating those records in Vision. It will make your life so much easier once you upgrade to Vantagepoint because you won't have a lot of duplicated records within your projects hub. All right, so multiple opportunities linked to a single project. This one I wasn't quite sure how you were associating multiple opportunities to one project. Standard Vision functionality only allows you to associate one opportunity to one regular project and or one promotional project. So you can, in other words, associate an opportunity to both a promotional project and a regular project. But what you can't do is associate one single opportunity to multiple regular projects. It only allows a one-to-one association. So what I did was, I know that I have some clients that have user-defined fields that have been created for associating maybe a master project if you do a lot of IDIQs or MSA agreements or things like that. So I wanted to show you if you are doing something like that to associate an opportunity to a specific master project or a user-defined lookup field, what will happen on conversion and upgrade to Vantagepoint. What we have on the left here is that opportunity record that we were just looking at. And you can see that the opportunity user-defined field that I had highlighted, that has come into the projects, but what happened is it created a unique project record. And you can tell from the number here, it's a randomly assigned because my opportunity number format did not match my project number format. And what we have over here on the right is that existing regular project that was in Vision. It came over, and you'll notice that that link has not been established in that user-defined field because that field only existed within opportunities. So there wasn't a one-to-one in that match. If you had that field mapped together, you might still have the link, but they're still going to be separate and unique records unless they're linked through those standard fields, those standard project and promotional project lookup fields within Vision. All right, so then we got into some very specific questions that we got on the actual numbering of opportunities and projects in the system. For this specific one, there were questions on multiple teaming partners and sequentially numbering numerically with an alpha suffix if you were submitting for basically the same prospect project, but to multiple potential primes where you're a teaming partner. So I've got a couple different slides here in response to this. The first one that I wanted to make note of is you are able, just like you can in Vision today, to change those project numbers within Vantagepoint. You would use the key conversion utility. So that hopefully will alleviate some of the stress for those users that have, a specific way that they're numbering their projects and vision currently that they want to maintain. You do still have that ability to, use those same numbering systems within Vantagepoint to separate your in pursuit and your awarded projects, but it's going to take an extra step. You're going to have to use that key conversion utility to change the number for any of those in pursuit projects once they're awarded.
Stacey, I'm going to have you pause there for a second because there's a question in the panel that kind of comes with that. Is that if you also have projects that come over that aren't linked to opportunities, would you be able to use that same key conversion to link them after the fact, or is there a method to be able to link them after the fact?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, but you could use the combined records, correct, as part of the utility?
I'm going to say yes. I mean, that's what it's intended to do. I would think that would work. I haven't tried it in Vantagepoint yet.
Okay, were there any other questions on that specific area, Susan?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I think one that might be worth saying out loud because everybody doesn't see these, one that was asked, will the opportunity numbers still be in the record when a linked opportunity and project are merged? And the answer is no. However, if you create a user-defined field and populate it with workflow so that it just copies your opportunity number into the user-defined field, then that user-defined field will stay intact and come over with the merge, so you will have a reference to your old numbers if you do that. And we can help you guys with that if you need it.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so on these slides, this is, again, a continuation of that previous question where you have a single project that you're pursuing, but you're a sub to different primes. And in the example, they were using basically the same number with a lettered prefix. So I just wanted to show you what those records look like within Vision here, and then also show you how they will come in on the upgrade to Vantagepoint. As you can see, they were unique records within Vision, 2 separate opportunities. So they're going to come into Vantagepoint as 2 separate and unique in pursuit projects. And you can see here, because again, the numbering system in my opportunity, the format was different from my project's numbering. What happens on the upgrade is Deltek will assign a random alphanumeric number. You can see here that it was 14500B in Vision, and over to the left here is what that number is brought into on the upgrade into Vantagepoint. I just wanted to follow up and expand on this specific question and give you another idea on how to possibly track those potential multiple pursuits for the same project, multiple proposals. Rather than creating separate opportunity records, you might want to consider creating a user-defined grid for tracking those potential teaming partners that you're pursuing the work with, and then only populating that primary client field, that standard field that's typically on the general tab in opportunities, once a decision has been made, once it has been awarded, and hopefully you're on the successful team, then finalizing that opportunity record. So then you only have that one opportunity for that one pursuit. Another benefit, not just of keeping your records clean and not having those duplicated values, is if you're running any forecasting or pipeline reports, you're not counting that revenue, that potential revenue twice. You're only counting it once because there's only one project, no matter how many teams you might be on. And you can see here is the grid at the top as it's seen in Vision, and your grids will come over in Vantagepoint. And then again, we only have that one single opportunity and ultimately in pursuit project in Vantagepoint using that option. All right, so another one, again, we had a lot of questions on the numbering. So this question was, if my opportunity number is slightly different from the project number, which number will be assigned in Vantagepoint? And a lot of that depends, again, on if that opportunity was awarded and associated to a regular project in Vision, then what's going to happen is the number that you have for your associated regular project for that opportunity, that's going to be the number that is shown for the actual project once you're upgraded. And all of that opportunity data, again, is going to be combined into that single project record. And you can see here over to the left, this is a screenshot from the project structure in Vantagepoint that shows those two numbers. You have your linked promotional based on the link that was established in Vision, and then that regular project, which combines, again, the project data stored in Vision as well as the opportunity information when that link is established. And this is, again, a continuation. Project numbers start with the year 2019, and our opportunity number begins with a BD prefix. How will that appear in Vantagepoint? And again, if that's an awarded opportunity and it's linked to a regular project, then the project number is always going to win. If, on the other hand, it's an in pursuit or is still an active opportunity, if those number formats are different within opportunities and projects, then you're going to get one of those randomly assigned alphanumeric numbers on the upgrade. If the formats are the same with your numbers within opportunities and projects, and that project number doesn't already exist within Vision, then the opportunity number will come in as is on the upgrade into Vantagepoint. So there's a lot of variables. Biggest takeaway is prior to upgrading, I would make sure that your formats for your opportunity numbers and your project numbers are the same to avoid those alphanumeric, those generic numbers being assigned to any of your opportunity records that aren't associated to regular projects within Vision. All right, so here's another example. We number opportunities, promotional projects, and projects. Our opportunities do not have a decimal in the number, but projects do. How is this translated in Vantagepoint? And again, if the numbers are different formats, then you'll get a randomly assigned number within Vantagepoint on the upgrade. But if those numbers, those opportunities are associated to existing records, existing project records, then those project numbers will remain the same that you have them in Vision. All right, so here's another example. In the example below, you can see the opportunity number is not the same format as my project number in Vision. So this is just another example of that randomly assigned alphanumeric number that will be associated to any of those projects that are created from opportunities on your upgrade. All right, and then we had a unique question about using projects, not opportunities, for tracking proposal data. The question was, will we be able to convert that to a numbered opportunity that's linked with a current project? You wouldn't be able to automatically convert or use a utility to convert a project to an opportunity in Vision. One option you could do if you have CRM and you have the access to opportunities is you could export that key data, the key proposal data from the projects, and then import that information to create opportunity records. And what we have down below here is just an example of some of the data you might be tracking on the project side that would be relevant or typically stored within opportunities in Vision. And on this next slide here, you can see how that information comes over. In my specific example, I was tracking that information in my demo within the promotional project. If you're doing it within a promotional project, just remember that is not going to flow through, to the regular project automatically on award. Your in pursuit or your what used to be opportunities in Vision, those in pursuit projects, they need to be set up as regular projects. So if you are tracking proposal type data in Vision now, you might want to look at your charge type for those projects and determine if you want to change any of those active pursuits to a regular versus a promotional now, and if need be, set up a new promotional project for tracking any expenses or time and things like that. All right, and then this next one, this was interesting as well, for partially awarded opportunities. And the question was, if opportunities are partially awarded, meaning only concepts awarded, and now proposing additional phases, how is that handled in Vantagepoint? One option you might want to consider that you could do in Vantagepoint, not necessarily within Vision, because of course, opportunities do not have a work breakdown structure. But once you upgrade to Vantagepoint, your in pursuit or that regular project, you do have the ability to associate a project structure to those in pursuit projects. So you can see here in the project screenshot below from Vantagepoint, in this example, my stage is pending. So this is an in pursuit project that I've set up. And I've gone ahead through the project structure and created separate phases for planning, schematics, design, all the way through CA. And then this next example here, one thing you might want to consider is if you're submitting on each of those phases separately, for example, you were awarded the master planning and depending on funding or what have you, or maybe it's a design competition, you might get those additional phases or be able to compete for that information or for those phases of the project later on in separate pursuits. So what you could do is within your project structure, determine a naming convention shown maybe as pending if you're submitting on, a proposal or change order or what have you for the schematics portion of that project, and then updating those names as they become awarded. Just so you know, if you update the stage field, which was the opportunity stage in Vision for any phase or within that project structure, it's automatically going to update all the phases for the entire breakdown here. So for all the phases and for all the projects within the structure. What you still can control, though, is the ability to be approved for use in processing. You can do that by phase. So you could have these open here if you're submitting on proposals and only open them up for processing once that work has actually been awarded. So that might be one way that you want to track that information. I'm not sure whoever posed that question, how you're currently tracking it within Vision. Are you creating, for example, separate opportunities for additional work, or are you tracking that within change orders in the project? So that would help drive, how you want to track that information in Vantagepoint after the upgrade. All right, and then we talked about this previously. There was a question about changing the project numbers. And again, you can change project numbers like you do today in Vision using the key conversion utility for the projects. And again, stressed again, I know I've said it probably 10 times, so you're probably tired of hearing it, but I would really consider making sure that your opportunity and your project numbers are the same format. They don't have to be the same numbering conventions, but the same number of characters and things like that, just to avoid any headaches after you upgrade. All right, and that is it for me. I don't know if you have any questions that we should address before, or if you want me to just look at the panel.
I have, no, we've got them all, except for the last one that just came in. I'm not sure how to answer it. If they don't have auto numbering assigned, well, auto numbering doesn't matter. If you don't have auto numbering assigned, that's not part of the issue here. It's the format. Formatting is required for auto numbering. The question was, if we don't have auto numbering assigned for projects, what will Vantagepoint use to assign the number to an unassociated opportunity? And again, it doesn't have anything to do with auto numbering. It has to do with formatting of the project number, which is done in utilities key formats. So if your project number is formatted as the year and a 3-digit sequence dot a 3-digit suffix, and your opportunities are the year and a 2-digit sequence, those don't match. So Vision's going to create its own number that matches how your project number is structured. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Now, if you don't have any formatting turned on, I don't know that we've tried that one, Stacy. Do you know if we don't have key formatting turned on at all in the formatting of the project number, how does it number? It still gives it a random number. I'm just not sure if it is 10 characters or 30 characters, but it would have to still give it a number. Did we try that at all?
No, I did not.
Okay, so we will give that a try and report it back to you at that next user group meeting. That seemed like we covered like 20 different scenarios here, but we apparently missed that one. The next question is, our projects changed from 7 digits to 5 digits. What will happen to our project imports? That shouldn't impact anything as far as your projects goes. You made that change globally, so they should just come over as is as the 5 digits. The last question that we have, would the conversion be the easiest if all the opportunity numbers are converted to their respective project numbers, so they would be merged into the one when the switch to Vantagepoint occurs? The answer
It'd be easier
is
just
no.
to link them.
Just link them, yeah. If you link them, because it's not going to give the opportunity a separate project record. If it's linked, it's just going to add that opportunity information to the existing project number. So that is one of the most important things here, is to link them. And then one more question, and then we'll move on. Can you speak to the project number in question for those of us who do not use opportunities? Will Vantagepoint keep our project numbers as is, regardless of the format? And yes, that should absolutely stay the same, because no matter what, your project numbers are going to stay the same. It's just a matter of what your opportunities are going to do when they come in. But your project number will not be changed in any way, shape, or form. Okay, there's a couple more questions coming in probably still, and feel free to put those questions in there. This is Melissa, by the way. Stacy will answer them. We're going to throw up a couple of polling questions, though, first. So, Kaylee, if you wouldn't mind. First question is, do you have dashboards? Wow, it scared me because it said 100% yes at first.
It's just trying to throw you off because you knew that.
Yes, that was definitely freaking me out there. All right, Katie, we can go ahead and close that poll. So about 83% of you, which is a good percentage of you, have dashboards. And now the next question may ruffle a few feathers. Do you feel that the dashboards are actually being utilized? Okay, so this is coming in as I expected. A lot of people are saying no, they're really not. 48% are saying it really depends on the role. And a small percentage say yes. It's going down. 6%, nope, went back up to 7%. All right, we can go ahead and close that poll. I think just about everybody's going to vote has voted. So 8% of you said yes, you feel like that the dashboards are being utilized. Am I sharing my screen? Did you guys make me presenter yet?
Nope, you need to share. You are presenter, but you have not yet shared.
Okie doke.
And I personally believe that these numbers are going to flip when you go to Vantagepoint.
Yeah.
That 8% is going to be the minority of those that are not utilizing dashboards.
I agree. And as my minions, they're surprised and wow, and this is so cool look on their face. I spent time preparing for this, and I did a good portion of it last night because it's easier for me to do it right before I present, so I'm got all that information fresh in my head. But I literally loved playing with the dashboards last night and figuring out all the different things that you could do. And I spent hours and hours doing it, and then I realized I still had to get back and do this presentation. So I'm going to show you some of the things I did. This is not meant to be a training, but just to tell you what the differences are and what you can do to prepare for these. So first and foremost, you can create multiple targeted dashboards now with Vantagepoint. So as you can see here, and I will go into the system in a little bit, you can see here at the top under My Dashboards, this particular user has access to several different dashboards. So you're targeting the dashboards and making the information on each dashboard specific to a topic, like a CRM person might need to see things about their activities and how many projects that you have and that you're pursuing and what stages of the pursuit process are they in, that type of thing. The owner might want to see both of those and 2 other things that the CRM role might not need. So that is super cool, because you could have a principal who is a principal who is also managing projects and is also involved in CRM. So they can have all of that information at their fingertips, extremely visually and super simple to navigate through. With these new dashboards, you can create more charts and graphs. So in the 7.6, what you could do with charts and graphs was very limited, and you had to actually display the reports to be able to see the chart and graph. So that you can still do that, but that is no longer how it needs to be done anymore. And it's much easier to do, quicker to set up, and more interactive. You can also now use color coding to spotlight information. So you can see I have an example of that here. In this particular dash part, they've obviously set some kind of limit as to a dollar amount as to what is target and above target and what is below target. So you have your greens and your reds there. So super cool, draws your eyes right to the projects that maybe need to have attention. You also have the ability.
I just want to interrupt there for 1 second, because things like that, color coding, were previously only available if you had VPM.
Correct.
And that, what you see right there, is out of the box.
Mm-hmm. And even I can do it, so it must be simple, right? You can also display more metrics. So there's more metrics available to you in these dash parts, as well as interacting with the dash parts. So the canned dash parts have a little bit more interactivity that you can have with them. You can see right here, this one is a canned dash part. Not that you would know that. I will show you that a little bit later. That comes with Vision, that you just drag on your dashboard, already configured, and it allows you to click on the button and create a new activity right from your dashboard, which you can't do right now. Only the canned ones, and only one of them so far, has the ability to filter, which I'll show you a little bit later. That I'm hoping that features coming to you as the users and setting up your own dash parts, that you'll be able to add that as well. And then you can hide and show metrics, which I'm going to show you. That's pretty cool too. So in addition to that, the canned dash parts, you can see here there's 5 of them. So there's the favorite reports dash part. I don't think you're going to use that very much anymore, because you can see that it's sitting right here. It's very similar to your favorite reports dash part that you have now, but with all the information that you have on these dash parts that are graphical, you may not need or want to go to the reports anymore, or may not need to or want to do it from the dashboard, but you can certainly do that. And again, all of these dashboards and dash parts are controlled by security. You have My Activities, which is this one right here. You have the pipeline, upcoming generic assignments, and then upcoming milestones. So just drag and drop them onto your dashboards if you want to use them. Everything that you see here are saved dash parts. So these are dash parts that people have created, and if once they're created, they're saved, and you can drag and drop them on any dashboard you want, and multiple dashboards when you want to. And if you go and change any one of those dash parts, it will ask you, are you okay with making this change? Because it's going to change it on the dashboards that it's listed on. So it'll tell you that it's whose dashboard it's listed on, and do you really want to make that change effective through all those dashboards? So that's, you may want to, but you also may not want to, which means you'll have to copy it and create another dash part. So super cool. It's smart enough to let you know that in advance. You can easily copy entire dashboards and a dash part. So in here, this is the edit mode of the dashboard. If I hit the copy button, I'm just copying a dashboard. When you're in the dash part setup, there's also a copy button there. It's on the right-hand side, and you can copy any dash part that you're viewing and make your changes to it and change the name. You can more easily share the dashboards now. So once you've created the dashboard and put all of the dash parts on it that you want, then you just click on the share button, and you can share out to roles, or you can share out to employees specifically, or you can do any combination of those two, which you were not able to do it that easily before in 7.6. So super easy to edit and create and share out to everybody. Again, the access to the dashboards and the visibility is controlled by the role that your users are in. Roles can also now be designated as to whether or not that they can create and share dashboards, whereas now in 7.6, that's part of the admin role. Remember that there's a checkbox in the role that says admin, which is not what most people think it is. It gives you access to 5 things, and one of those 5 things is the ability to create the dashboard. So people sometimes wanted to give out that ability without giving them the other 4 abilities that you have under admin. So now it's been separated from that. So you can give roles not only access to dashboards, but access to create them and how they save them for other users as well. And with the new version coming out at the end of the year, version 3.0 and beyond, there's going to be more enhancements coming, more visuals, more analytics, more interaction with them. So super cool. So the next couple of slides, I'm just going to zip through here because they're just giving you some examples of the dashboards that we have in our demo database, but what you're probably all waiting for is actually seeing it happen. So I'm going to go to the dashboard that I was working on last night, and of course, as everyone would expect, it's 50 Shades of Purple, because that's my favorite color. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the pie chart to let me control the color, so that one doesn't look as nice. But everything I did here, of course, is my purple theme. So one of the things that you can do that doesn't show very well on a PowerPoint presentation is if you hover over any one of these, you can see that it is spotlighting what you're hovering over and everything else fades to the background. You can also turn them off. If you want to turn off billing, you can just click on it and it hides that. I can turn off the compensation amount as well. And now all I have is the billed amount. And then I can simply turn them right back on by clicking on them again.
Woohoo!
I think there's a lot of them. What does MMG stand for? Those are my initials.
Those are initials, Nancy.
That's how you spell purple, MMG. So the other cool thing is if you want to stretch these, you do have to be in the edit mode to resize them, you can see that the data is expanding with it. So the numeric values will change from the millions to the thousands when you expand and contract it. So super, super easy to do. All of it resizes for you. Kind of fun to play around with. To add a new dash part, if you click on, you can click on New Dash Part to create your own dash part from scratch, or as you saw in the PowerPoint presentations, you can click on the dash part library and take any one of these canned dash parts that come with the system or any ones that somebody's already created and click it and just drag it onto your dashboard and you're done. It's down here, I promise. It always goes to the bottom left there. Then you can move it around and put it wherever you want. You do have to remember to save. Anytime I'm getting ready to go create a new dash part, so it's going to bring up a new screen, so it's going to ask me, do I want to leave or do I want to stay on the page? And if I leave, it's not going to save what I changed. So I'm going to save first and then click on New Dash Part, and then it won't ask me that. So you can give it a title, so we'll just call this UGM. What is the basis for your dash part? You can create, and I only did charts and graphs on here because I was having so much fun with them, but you did see the tables in there where you could list, your, in kind of like an Excel format, kind of report values and have them do the color coding and things like that. I was just having fun with the charts and graphs last night. So the basis for the areas that you can report on dashboard are project information, which includes build and AR and all that fun stuff. Account detail. So believe it or not, you can have your GL detail as a dash part. I'm not sure why you would, but you can. You can also have GL account information and then favorite report as a basis. So typically you're going to choose project. You can create a table dash part, which looks more like a grid, or a chart dash part, which has a little bit more features. So I'm going to pick that. Click on continue. And then it's basically kind of going to step you through some of the processes here. I love showing this. If you start typing in the words, it will start searching. So it narrows down the list for you as you're typing in the words. So sometimes it's best to do less is more. So I'm just going to do project name. There it is. I'm going to move it over, and let's say build. We're going to pick build amount. And let's see, what else can we put? AR amounts, and then hit continue, and then it brings you to the full setup screen. So in here, this is where if I'm doing a chart, of course I can change it to a table, and then all the options change up here. Go back to a chart, and these are the different types of charts that you can select, any one that you want. You have to decide, are you filtering the data on this dashboard? In most cases, people are. They might want to do PM is me, or my active projects where PM is me and status is active, that type of thing. So you want to make sure that you filter your results. You could have a situation, like if you try to put all projects in here, you certainly could. It'll obviously slow down the population of the dashboard, but it's also going to impact how you can see it. If you have 500 projects that were assigned to you, then I'm not sure you're going to be able to read that graph that you're trying to create. So sometimes narrowing it down and having more charts is a better approach than trying to get them all into one. You do have the ability to give it a title. I'm just going to put UGM test, and then I'm going to say active projects or my active projects. So that's kind of like the subtitle of my dashboard, which is nice. And I already have a saved search here ready for me, so I just needed to pick my saved search. From left to right, you can click on your select column. So this is a screen that popped up in the beginning if you want to add more fields when you're in it. That's how you do it. Calculated fields, if you have any that you've already created in configuration or want to create them here, you can create them or pick them from the list and put them onto your chart. And then you have chart options. Do you want it to give you the top 20 records? Do you want it to stack the results in the chart so that the two results are one on top of the other? I kind of like that. Do you want to use color gradients? Do you want a legend? If you do, where do you want it? So these are types of things that you can put in when you're setting up the charts. And then grouping options, how do you want it to group by? Are you grouping it by a date range? So if you wanted build by period, if you wanted, trying to think of other examples, if you wanted it grouped by project type, that would all come in here. You would do that in here. So I'm going to group by project. And then you have your sorting options, which really doesn't apply to a chart, but would apply if you were doing a table. And then each one of the fields that you've selected has the ability to filter as well. So you filter the whole thing, but you might not want projects where build amount equals 0 or not equal to 0. Sorry, the other way around. Because I don't want them on here. They have no value to me. They have no billing yet, so I don't want them on here. So I've added a filter for that. You might also not want it if the AR equals 0, but I think we're going to keep it with just the build amount. Since these are transactional fields, you also can pick the time frame that you want for them. Do you want them to be job to date? Do you want them to have a start and end date? Keep in mind that will be static data if you do that. And then the properties for each line, this is where you can go in and change the color and do 50 shades of purple. Don't pick any other color, those are the best. And then you can also determine whether you want to display 0 amounts, display the values on the charts, put in a second axis, or display as a plot line that particular metric. I'm just going to do that. And then this radio button just lets you hide the column. This is your copy button, and this is your delete button, and it's just referring to the row that I have on here. So I probably won't get anything exciting out of this. Do you want to add the new dash part to the dashboard that I'm currently on? Yes, I do. Go back to my dashboard. And there it is. So pretty easy to do. As you hover over it, it's also giving you the amounts. For AR was in purple, build amount is in green. And that actually looks pretty. I like the purple and green. Super cool.
Pretty. Very pretty.
I love it. I could sit here all day and play around with charts and graphs. So, Susan, did we have any questions? We have 5 minutes left.
Yeah, so one of the questions is in like Vision's reporting today, you're able to go to the columns and then you can do find. Like find me what has billed in it. So are you still able to do that when you're finding your columns, that you can actually just type in the text that you're looking for and it drops you to that in the list?
I'm not sure what you're asking. If you're in here,
When you're creating
it
a new
has
one.
the type
you're
ahead
selecting columns.
searching.
Yeah.
So if
there you
I
go.
type status, it's going to narrow down the list for me. So it doesn't go to it, it just shortens the list.
Right, which is kind of, yeah, today it jumps from one to one.
Same thing, but
to me is much better.
easier. Yes, to
Yeah,
me, I
absolutely.
agree. I'm not trying to find where the little arrow is.
Yeah. And Laura is asking about having month-to-date, year-to-date, and job-to-date dashboards. Are you able to have the same dashboard with different data? And I think what you're asking, Laura, is it, you may have to elaborate, is it within the same dash part, or are you talking about multiple dash parts? If it's multiple dash parts, absolutely.
Yes, yeah. The single dash part. If this was a table, and you can put build amount in here twice. So if I switch this to a table and I add build amount again, so I think you can do this. I haven't tried it, but I think you can do it. It does let you add it again, and it calls it build amount 1. And then here you can then filter it for, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to filter the date range. So one can have a date range of the current month, one can have the date range of the year to date, and one can have the date range of job to date. So you should be able to get all of those on here. But the other, I don't know if they still have it in here anymore. JTD? No. They used to actually be separate fields. Clearly, I cannot type today. So it looks like they got rid of that. But that should work. You can add the field more than once and change the date range options.
Awesome.
Which means you could have billed for what was billing last year, what was billing this year, as 2 columns of a report.
Which is even cooler.
Right.
Yes.
So kind of
So, and
answers
that
Corey's
kind of goes
question, too.
into, yeah, exactly. The Corey's question is that you do have more flexibility because you can potentially do year over year just by selecting the date ranges, where before you weren't able to do that as much.
Really at all. And I think more of that is going to be inherent in the system in version 3 and prior for the year over year reporting. So pretty cool. I'm excited. So wow.
Corey had one last question, and then we'll stop on the questions and let you finish. Can it have dynamic dates, or do they still have to go in and manually change it? So if you're doing current period, Corey, that will roll with your accounting periods. But if you're doing fixed dates,
I'm going to say it's a little hard to understand, but it is somewhat, dynamic. Because if not dynamic, just let me get it back in there really quick. Because you can say, I already got a field here. Where was it? Where did I see it? Was in one of my charts that I did. Let me go back to that one.
yeah, and we can always get back to
I think it's because I was grouping. When you're grouping by a period, then it lets you say, here's the current period and give me 4 months back. Right here.
For the rolling.
Yeah. Although, if you can start with a specific period, you can start with a fiscal period and then 4 months behind, or 6 months behind and 3 months ahead. So I think this is on its way to getting there, if that helps.
Perfect. Right, and I think you had a few more slides.
Nope, that was it, didn't I? That was it. They were all just examples. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess it helps for preparing. So what happens? How can you prepare? Completely forgot about it. I was too excited about the dashboards like I was last night when I was creating some. Dashboards don't upgrade. As you can imagine, they are completely different. They're created differently. They're organized differently, so they do not upgrade. Again, as I mentioned before, security roles control. In the security roles, you can control what a user can do as far as creating them and how they can save them. Dashboards do honor record level security and access to cost rates and security, but do not honor field level security that's set in the screen designer. So if you have a field that is hidden from a particular role in a screen, it is not going to be hidden from them if they're given the ability to create dashboards. So they're basically saying if you want to control that, you create a dashboard that only gives them the fields you want them to see, and that's it. That's all they get. So how can you prepare? Take some screenshots and document your current dashboard content. Collaborate with your teams to determine desired dashboard comment. 8% of you said they're really not using them. Well, they're not using them because they're not giving them what they need. So what do they need so that you know what to do when you get up to Vantagepoint? In your preview and test environments, develop those dashboards. Have fun with it like I did. Think of all the possibilities that you could do on there and create them. And you might think of more as you do them in your preview environment and come back to your team and say, here's what we're thinking. And then determine if there's any changes that need to be made to the security roles in Vantagepoint as to are there going to be more people that are going to be allowed to create them? Who's going to be able to see them? What type of dashboards are you going to have? How many and who's going to be able to have access to them? And then, of course, test it thoroughly. And then when you go live, you'll wash, rinse, and repeat. But we should be able to help you with copying some of that information from your test Vantagepoint to your live Vantagepoint as well. That's it. That was the last slide, sorry.
Wonderful. And just one last question/comment from Kristen. Boy, that was a tongue tire. Do you know of any other resources for ideas for dashboards? Is there something in that preparing for Vantagepoint or anywhere that they can get ideas, right? Because part of the struggle is the ideas.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I think that's something that we are challenged with internally is, what kinds of things do they want on dashboards? I think collaborating with your team and finding out what they've seen, what they'd like to have, and any ideas that they have is good. And maybe Google, dashboards or things like that, and how people are doing their analytics will give you some ideas. Maybe, is there anything at the Clarity event, Susan, that does?
No, not specifically for dashboards, I don't think. I would just kind of stay kind of in tune with the town halls that Deltek is doing, the meetings that we're having, other user groups. Oh, there goes your headset, Melissa.
I did.
That must mean you're done. Yeah. If we can come up with any other resources, we'll certainly let everyone know, right? That's the reason that we have these meetings, to kind of help inspire and point you in the right direction. So, absolutely.
Sounds great.
All right, awesome. So any questions that are left that we have not been able to answer, we will go ahead and answer those separately, just kind of for sake of everyone's time. We appreciate you all joining today and month over month, and we will see you all in July. So I think we can go ahead and close up, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Thanks, everyone.